Hey guys, welcome back. It's Tommy with another Starcraft 2 replay for you guys. Once again, we have a great international engagement in between the two pro players, and as you can see from the thumbnail, if SCARLETT says no, she actually means no, as we have a very long game here in between the two pro players. So let me just start by introducing the players to you guys. We have PTITDROGO, I believe he's from France, spawning here in the upper right part as the blue Protoss, and his opponent spawning here in the lower left as the red Zerg. It is SCARLETT from Canada, but I believe she is still living in Korea. I might be wrong. If you guys have any information, I'm pretty sure she's still living in Korea, in that streaming house, in that training house, of course, training for the next upcoming tournaments. So yeah, as you can see from the thumbnail, a very long game, and also a very strong game here for SCARLETT, as she decides to say no to a draw from PTITDROGO. PTITDROGO nicely already denying the first expansion point here for SCARLETT with his first pro move out, so SCARLETT has to build in a different location. Of course, she will lose a couple of seconds there for her expansion, as she's also moving out here with her overlord. The probe is getting some nice information here, only one gas, and there is this one spawning pool. So yeah, nice information here for PTITDROGO. He's opening up pretty standard with his pylon, with his gateway into this location, very soon to be followed with a fast expansion, I believe. And yes, SCARLETT will also take, or very likely she will be taking, her second expansion point around the 2-minute and 30-second mark. So yeah, the pretty standard build order for both players. The probe is still roaming around here into this location, but yeah, all the information has been gathered, and a nice job here by PTITDROGO, just denying the first expansion point there. He's continuing with the cybernetic score. The gateway is up, so the question for many Protosses, what exactly will be the next important building? Is it going to be a starport, or are you going to be see a Twilight Council with a timing push for him? Same can be said for SCARLETT. Is she going for a timing push with some Zerglings, with some Roaches and some Ravagers around the 5-minute mark? We are about to find out what exactly the plans for both players are. Currently some queens are being spawned here, of course, for those defensive purposes, just in case some attack is going to happen here by PTITDROGO early on with some zealots, with some adepts here, but only one adept is being spawned. The expansion has been placed here down, double gas, and we indeed see a Stargate. So Stargate it is going to be here for PTITDROGO. Perhaps he's going to add some oracles really soon, just to harass the mineral line for SCARLETT. There is a second expansion, and the first drones are also being transferred here towards the expansion point. So worker wise, pretty much the same workers for both players, as we see the first adept just chasing some Zerglings away here from this location. Warp is also being done here by PTITDROGO, the second adept, and let's see if he's going for a Void Ray or Oracle. Oracle indeed he's going to be, with a rally, I believe, almost close to the expansion point here from SCARLETT. So the first adept just walking here by really nicely, just annoying SCARLETT a little bit. Might be lucky and kill one drone or two. Let's see. Oh, nice save here by SCARLETT. Really great job, as the adept is shading out. So two drones nicely have been saved here, and the adept has shaded out, but the second adept might come in as well, just to harass the mineral line here for SCARLETT. And the oracle should also come out really soon here towards SCARLETT. Some Zerglings with speed are also moving out, so PTITDROGO needs to be careful not to get by surprised here by those Zerglings moving here forward. And yeah, one drone, even one adept, gets nicely surrounded. The oracle has to attack, so nice job here by SCARLETT. She might even try to cancel this one expansion point, the oracle not having any energy left. The second oracle, however, comes in, so PTITDROGO leaving those oracles as a defensive purpose, not to attack here the mineral line from SCARLETT. And yeah, this of course will allow SCARLETT to drone up more and more. 42 workers for her. She's also nicely roaming around with those Zerglings. She might try to attack here, but there is an adept, so the wall off is nicely being done. And yeah, one probe might be killed. PTITDROGO trying to buy some time, and interesting enough, he went for 3 oracles already, so a very aggressive push could come out really soon. One oracle, however, very low on energy. The second one here as well. Let's just see if PTITDROGO will be able to do something here with those oracles as they're moving here forward towards the main. There was a spawn into this location. There's many queens out, and the drones already have been pulled out of danger. Still 3 kills already, so nice job here for PTITDROGO, but not that much energy is being left for those oracles. So a nice harassment. 3 drones have been killed, as SCARLETT might go very soon for her tier 2. There it is indeed. So just like Dark has shown us against Maru, she's actually going for a proxy hatchery here, and at the same time she's also expanding into this location, so very soon she might try to just overcome her opponent with massive amounts of Zerglings with banings. Let's have a look if this is indeed her plan, but then again the game goes very long far. So PTITDROGO still tries to harass the middle line. Let's just check his main really quick. He's adding some gateway, so it might be a transition into mass stalkers with zealots. Let's check his expansion point, looking really strong with some shield batteries. The oracles are still flying around. He now sees that SCARLETT went for a second hatchery, might even try to add a third hatchery and just inject massive amounts of larvae into those hatcheries, just like Dark did versus Maru. But at the same time SCARLETT really aggressively expanding all over the map. Very interesting, leaving some of those hatcheries pretty much exposed, just roaming around with a couple of Zerglings, and those queens are also there to protect. But we see PTITDROGO now moving forward with those oracles. Let's see if he's finally going to be able to take out more and more of those drones, but no, he's actually going for a queen. So interesting enough, sniping one queen, a very important kill for him. Attacking out the gas, a little bit of a misclick there perhaps, but still one queen has been sniped. At the same time SCARLETT preparing an attack here into this location, but PTITDROGO seems to be ready with some zealots, with some stalkers, and even high templars. High templars need to be protected, of course, a very important unit versus the Zerg with those storms. And yeah, still SCARLETT, like I told you, just expanding all over the map, having like only 60 workers. PTITDROGO already at 17, as SCARLETT just prepares her defenses here, and the oracles once again are moving forward. They might try to snap something here, but no, just the reveal cast has been used here, as PTITDROGO also taking this expansion. So both players pretty much preparing their macro-oriented game, and indeed a very long macro-oriented game we have here. A 50-minute long game in between the two pros. Those high templars will be very important. Like I told you, Psionic Storm is really strong versus the Zerg, and let's see if those Zerglings can come here forward. But no, there's 2 Archons here into this location. Of course, Archons as well, really strong versus the Zerglings and the Banelings, as SCARLETT tries to add more and more of that creep. A really nice creep spell by her. And now she's just moving forward and roaming around with Zerglings. Those Zerglings can be transformed into Banelings. Yeah, PTITDROGO playing very nicely, very defensively still, as he's adding more and more of those gateways. So High Templars going for those Archons here. It's going to be the tactic by PTITDROGO. And once again, he's moving out with an observer, with some oracles here. Let's see if he's going to be able once again to target some queens, to target some drones, or is he going to be using once again Revelance to see what exactly SCARLETT is doing. As he's moving forward, he's going for the queen. There is a spore door. 3 drones have been killed, so nice job by Drogo. But at the same time, 1 oracle has fallen. Now some exposed zealots will be killed here for SCARLETT. So like a very balanced game we have here, as we're closing towards the 10-minute mark. SCARLETT is going to finish her lair really soon, and she's also having so many defenses here. I believe she's fearing, of course, an attack by zealots with stalkers, so lots and lots of spine crawlers, and even some lurkers now have been added with hydras. So interesting transition here by her, as she's able to snap this one observer, and PTITDROGO taking another expansion there in the upper part of the map. SCARLETT very defensively adding more and more of those spine crawlers and spores, and also nicely denying the attack from those zealots. So nice strategic gameplay here by both players. But yeah, here are the real damage dealers, of course, for the Protoss army. Those Archons, those High Templar Storms, and of course the Zerglings will be no match against that. So what exactly is SCARLETT going to be doing? What exactly is she going to transition for? We did see some lurkers, some hydras, but yeah, Archons are also strong versus that. Still, the lurkers will be the answer here for SCARLETT versus that ground units. But then again, PTITDROGO could also transition into some air units. Hold on, we actually have an attack here with many Zerglings. They get a good surround against those zealots, dealing some good damage, but now in come the reinforcements. SCARLETT has to retreat here. So yeah, like I told you, PTITDROGO could add more and more of those air units, and yes indeed we do see 2 Stargates, and we will actually 3 Stargates, and we'll be seeing a transition into carriers. So yeah, carriers of course really strong in the late game, but they also need some backup, and that backup should be those Archons, those High Templars, and so on. So Scarlet's still waiting for an opportunity here, waiting for a good attack, but PTITDROGO playing a very nice, a perfect defensive gameplay here against her. So yeah, he's moving around with those upgraded zealots. Scarlett also nicely upgraded her units as well, so Lurkers indeed is going to be here for her versus those units. She should be fine against so many Stalkers, and the High Templars need to be, of course, microed away out of danger. So very interesting strategic gameplay as we've passed the first 10 minutes. Slowly but steadily Scarlett decides to move here forward with her units, with her Lurkers, her Zerglings, but yeah, PTITDROGO very close nearby, but at the same time she's moving forward with Zerglings here. No Banelings, interestingly enough, so no decision for her to go for Banelings as she has scored those Lurkers, but yeah, in comes PTITDROGO with the Zealots, with the Archons. He should be able to take this out. Scarlett is still moving forward. I believe Banelings would have been a very good idea here for her. Zerglings are really fast, but hold on, so much damage going on here left and right. This is actually the macro game for any Zerg. We've seen this Dark 2, and there's still Zerglings roaming around all over the map. I believe no Banelings are being needed as 16 kills have been done here against the ropes from PTITDROGO. So nice job here by Scarlett. But yeah, now the Templar Storms are showing their strengths. It's a very nicely multitasking army here for the Protoss carriers with High Templars, with those Zerglings. And yeah, let's see, more and more carriers are being added as now finally PTITDROGO is looking for the answer. Perhaps he's going to attack into the newly established expansion point, into this location. We see the fleet moving out slowly but steadily, as Scarlett really did lose quite some units here. Lots and lots of Zerglings did cause economic damage, but still she's lacking behind. 5 workers versus PTITDROGO, as he's now moving forward with a quite scary army, especially against the ground unit, especially against those Zealots, sorry, Zerglings. And yeah, in come the Bangs. Finally she went for some Bangs. Bangs pretty good against those Zealots. And we also see some Corruptors and Vipers, and the Vipers are really strong with that flash damage in the air, that spell against the air. And then finally she's going to be sucking more and more of that energy out of those hatcheries. And yeah, the Vipers much needed. Even some Infestors could be added with some Fungals. And yeah, Vipers really strong with the splash damage dealing spell. I'm not sure what exactly it is called. It surely will come back to me. A Parasitic Bomb, there it is. Yeah, Parasitic Bomb, of course, the counter towards those carriers. Carriers really slowly moving, and if you even I saw this SERRAL do a couple of times, just fungal them and then just cast that Parasitic Bomb, and you will deal so much splash damage against those carriers. So it's a really strong spell to have, and you can even cast Mind Control onto those carriers, and lots of carriers it is did here for PTITDROGO. So I believe he's going for a finishing move really soon. Such a strong fleet by him, a very beautiful looking fleet into the white and light blue here by PTITDROGO. The Archons also looking very scary. So what exactly does Scarlett have to counter this? Lurkers with Corruptors it is indeed for her. Lots and lots of Corruptors, and let's not forget the Spores are also really important, especially against those air units. So she's always preparing a counter here with some Zerglings into this location, but there were some cannons here. Let's see if she's going to be going for some Banelings. Currently the Archons just showing their strengths against those Zerglings, and PTITDROGO also taking this expansion point into this location. Scarlett not yet taking this one, so slowly but steadily PTITDROGO is moving forward with a very scary army indeed here versus Scarlett. Let's see, the Spores might take some kills. Very important as a Zerg to have some Spores against those Interceptors, along with the Corruptors here as well. As a PTITDROGO multitask here all over the map, but yeah, so many Spores, so many Spines here for Scarlett. Scarlett just establishing control in the middle of the map with this scary defenses, Spores and Spines indeed. So this might force PTITDROGO into going for some Colossi. Colossi would be a good answer, but maybe later into the game, as slowly but steadily we're going to pass the 50-minute mark. Now things have settled down a little bit. Both players of course maxed out army wise. PTITDROGO having a little bit more, but if Scarlett casts that spells really good with those Vipers and maybe Infestors later on, she will have the advantage against the areas. Let's just see what's going to happen here. The Lurkers have been bored. Scarlett tries to regroup her units, but PTITDROGO also moving here forward with his fleet towards the enemy. Let's see if they will be engaging or it's just a waiting game perhaps. Some units will fall, Scarlett might try to transition into something else, and those Zerglings will be no match against those cannons as there is also a shield battery behind, so nice defenses here for PTITDROGO as he's adding more and more of those cannons. Scarlett might even try to add a Night Swarm. It would be an interesting idea here into the back. And here into the production tab, so many Stargates here for PTITDROGO, massive amounts of Stargate for him. He might even try to transition into Void Race, it would be an interesting idea. And let's see if this indeed is going to be his plans. Currently his carriers just moving here forward, sniping everything they can, but many more spores have been added here by Scarlett. We even see one lone Fungal here against one Knight Templar. Interesting idea by Scarlett as she has added now some Broodwar. So very scary multitasking Zerg army indeed is going to be here for Scarlett versus PTITDROGO, and it will all come down of course to a strong engagement. Are both players going to try to attack each other really soon? Let's see if this is going to indeed happen here, but PTITDROGO at the same time taking more and more of those expansions, taking the probes out of the depleted expansions and moving them towards the newly established expansions. Yeah, the Infestors of course really important, and she's nicely hiding those Broodwars in the back, but let's see if it's going to be happening here. Some carriers have been caught off guard, one will be taken out, the second one is going to be saved. Yeah, things have settled down a little bit as there is still a counter try to be done here by both players towards those expansions, but yeah, the expansions are really well protected for both players. We can see massive amounts of cannons here into this location, and we can see massive amounts of spines with spores for Scarlett. So very nice strategic gameplay, although we actually see an attack here by Scarlett, but those Lurkers are pretty much exposed. Maybe she wants to transition into something else, but yeah, the Lurkers will of course stand no chance against those observers in the air and the carriers, so will be cleared. So perhaps Scarlett just sacrificed those Lurkers to go into a different unit composition. We might see many more Corruptors in the air as in come the Interceptors, but yeah, so many spores on the ground here for Scarlett. Actually, we actually have two Harpoons here against the carriers. They should fall, great storms. However, Scarlett nicely avoiding them with some good micro, not taking so much damage. So yeah, every kill is going to count, of course, quite a lot now, as the carriers will re-establish that shield with those shield batteries on the ground. And finally Scarlett also taking here her expansion into the lower right part. So yeah, slowly but steadily we're closing towards the 20-minute mark. A very interesting game, a very nice strategic gameplay here by both players, and we finally see a transition into some Void Race. So Void Race in the late game, very strong. Yeah, it's a fleet, indeed a strong fleet for PTITDROGO, and let's see what's going to be happening here. Nice healing going on for Scarlett, so a very hard game for PTITDROGO to penetrate here forward. Same can be said here for Scarlett, really hard against those cannons and shield batteries. And yeah, more and more expansions go out here throughout the map. Of course, PTITDROGO tries to counter it with some Zealots, but Banix will be established here with some Zerglings at the same time. The middle of the map looking really important for both players as PTITDROGO finally once again into to try to attack here. He has some Void Rays now in the front, has those Archons in the front here as well, but they're immediately getting harpooned here. Vipers, and yeah, High Templar Storm is being casted just to fend off any other attacks here. So really great back and forth game. Who is going to be the victory in the end? Quite a intelligent gameplay here by both players. The Infestors are nicely being protected here in the middle of this great defensive wall by Scarlett. Yeah, the fleet once again is moving out here for PTITDROGO, and let's see what exactly is going to be attacking. Some Queen Eggs. The spores have been cancelled, so PTITDROGO forcing and cancel there. Putting two drones at the same time. In comes some Ultra Risk on the ground, and let's see, so many spores, of course, killing those Interceptors. It's really important to kill as many Interceptors as possible. Of course, Interceptors are not for free. If you have to rebuild them, of course you can have to pay minerals, but then again some spores will be killed here as well. Once again, SCARLETT nicely abducting those Vipers, sorry, those carriers and those units, and in the end so many high temper storms here. Only we have a strong engagement here, but SCARLETT looking really strong as PTITDROGO has to come back, but we do see mind control now being added, and even with mind control the teleportation has been completed here as PTITDROGO made it here out alive, still having lost so many units. Same can be said here for SCARLETT as well, but in the end the important units, the Corruptors, are still alive as SCARLETT feeling really confident to move forward. Still the carriers have many interceptors alive, and slowly but steadily she's moving forward finally with her Broodwars in the front. Just to be careful, the first production building is going to be killed here and the second one might follow here as well, as SCARLETT feeling really confident to move here forward. Even a nice fungal has been casted somewhere by SCARLETT, and she looking like really strong. She looking like she wishes to kill this first expansion point. Such a high strong fleet by her with those Corruptors in the air. She might even try to vomit onto this one Nexus. Let's just see if she's indeed going to be vomiting. No, she's actually microing those Corruptors out of danger. The first Void Rays do appear here, but so much damage is being dealt towards the units. Still the Broodwars are quite exposed in the back. Some Ultra-Rays are still roaming around. 9 probes have been killed. Finally Parasitic Bomb has been cast with the Plague, no, with Plague, with Fungus, and yeah, PTITDROGO needs to be careful, he needs to micro those units out of danger. And let's see, he's going to change tactics, but yeah, so many spores are still alive for SCARLETT, and she almost killed this one expansion point, just having to settle for 2 gateways here. Yeah, still a balanced game. However, SCARLETT having not that many workers, I believe she did sacrifice some workers just to have more and more army supply, so it's really important in the late game to have more army supply, and if she somehow can spread that creep, she can bring those spores forward just to have them a little bit of a more aggressive and offensive gameplay here. So if she somehow will be able to take those queens out, just cast more and more of those creep eggs on the ground, she will be able to move forward. And I believe that's exactly what she's doing with the creep eggs on the ground. More and more creep will be spawned, and the spores will finally be able to fight as well for the Zerg army. So quite a interesting strategy by her. Void Rays in the front, with those carriers with high tempers in the back, and we even have a casual immortal here. Why not? As most players are still roaming around, still ready here to cast. Even the high tempers are attacking, and let's see what the exact moves are going to be. So many Stargates, but it could be also be a transition here for PTITDROGO in some other units. We are about to find out, as yeah, finally the spores are now moving forward inch by inch forward here against the Protoss army. Nice feedbacks here against those units here immediately getting killed. But yeah, the SCARLETT needs to be more careful with that, as some units might fall here as well. So quite a scary army indeed, but same can be said here of course for the Zerg as well, as she has so many Corruptors in the air. And don't forget the Vipers, but I don't see any Vipers. Oh yeah, there are, and some Infestors. So the Infestors and the Vipers will be really important, and if she somehow will be successful into adding more and more creep, spores will be able to fight as well. So that's really important for the Zerg to have that backup for those spores, because the spores can kill so many interceptors, just like we see here. And yeah, finally PTITDROGO looking for the new expansion, to kill that newly expansion, even though attacking those rocks, but he needs to be careful. He's going to be taking so much damage out of those spores, and he's looking like he's going to open the floodgates here to attack, even casting one high templar storm versus those changelings. And let's see, SCARLETT trying to go for a counter with some banings, with some ultralisk here. PTITDROGO got a little bit off guard here, so much splash damage is going to be taken, and now finally the probes will take damage. He has to teleport back with his fleet. Great teleport here indeed. And yeah, still 20 kills have been made here, so SCARLETT, if she's smart, might try to attack the other locations here, as a teleportation has happened here by PTITDROGO, and I don't think he has much energy left to attack, so this expansion here is pretty much exposed. Of course PTITDROGO has to cancel it, this one here as well, and even the main production buildings are pretty much exposed right now after this teleportation. So SCARLETT might try to attack here, might try to punish here the teleportation from PTITDROGO, as her SCARLETT, as her spores has pretty much taken now control of the middle of the map. So it's really important to have those units, and PTITDROGO really needs an observer to kill those creep eggs on the ground. That's exactly what he's doing, as much creep is going to be really hard for him to fend off against those so many spores here. on the ground. Let's see what Skull is going to trying to force perhaps another teleportation here, but I don't think PTITDROGO has enough energy. Let's have a look. Banings are also here roaming around. PTITDROGO pretty much has to walk the way back home and in come those void rays. So I believe SCARLETT just tried to force a teleportation back, but PTITDROGO much smarter. Is leaving the void rays in the front as he's now moving forward with his units or AC. SCARLETT of course waiting for that attack, having so many units, so many infestors now all of a sudden. Of course infestors later in the late game, a much needed unit. Also Vipers are really important, but not that many Vipers I see by her. I believe only 2 or 3. It's actually those are ultra risk. Are those Vipers? Yeah, there are 2 Vipers. Yeah, parasitic bomb much needed against the carriers in the air, so she might even try to add more and more Vipers. Really important. And yeah, Fungals with parasitic bomb, the perfect counter like we've seen many Zergs do, especially SERRAL. He really likes to go for that in the late game. But hold on, once again we have an attack here by SCARLETT against the expansion point. It's the important expansion point, and yeah, just a couple of cannons have been killed, and in come those void rays versus the Zerg. The army still looking very beautiful here for PTITDROGO, the 2 immortals also here as well, versus the old Zerg here. Let's see when exactly a big engagement is going to be happening. Of course, lots and lots of energy are being needed here for SCARLETT to fend off such a huge army here for the Protoss. Let's see when exactly perhaps she's going to be attacking, or is she going for some counter movement. But hold on, we actually see some harpoons happening here. We see some units getting killed, some voiders are moving forward, but SCARLETT moving now forward with a small task force, with those Zerglings, with the Ultralisk. And PTITDROGO has to decide, is he going to defend or is he going to attack? Great Fungals here. The parasitic bomb is much needed right now, but still feedbacks are immediately being casted against those Vipers. So perhaps more and more of those Vipers are being needed, and finally SCARLETT is coming back, but she's pretty much going to sacrifice those units against so many carries in the air, so she needs to be careful. Perhaps she wants to do this just to lure those interceptors into those spores. The spores are finally also attacking here as slowly but steadily we're closing here towards the 30-minute mark, so still anyone's game, a very interesting game here for both players. As finally SCARLETT is going to, she's just try to kill a carrier or 2, but perhaps she just try to vomit onto those islands here or onto those stargates. Of course, lots and lots of vomit is being needed out of those corruptors, and they're still harpooning every unit she can to kill that massive amount of a fleet. And she might even try to move forward with the spores and with the spines into this location. It would be very important, as this is a newly established expansion here. And let's just see if this is indeed what she's going to be doing. But currently she of course has to protect those factories. Once again she's attacking with some risk, with some banings. Yeah, the voiders are here to respond, and she needs to be careful not to lose so many units here. And yeah, really nice job here by both players. Very interesting game here we have indeed, as the corruptors are now slowly but steadily moving here forward towards the units on the way to duct, and one shot, one kill here by SCARLETT. And yeah, she's going to try to lure more and more those units into those infestors, into those spores. Broodwars are also here to respond. Still anyone's game, of course. Not that many workers being left for them. Lots and lots of minerals and gas for both players. Yes, yeah, very nicely macro-oriented game. I believe in the end the whole map will be mined out. Yeah, still both players roaming around, still trying to find a good position here to attack. Spreading those units, the same can be said here for SCARLETT. Also spreading, also sucking more and more of that energy. And once again preparing an attack with banings, with ultra risk here, but PTITDROGO once again is teleporting back, so this could be the chance for SCARLETT to go for a new position here. And I believe that's exactly what she's going to be doing, or she's going to try to find out of those reinforcements. She could engage here, but the income those void rays, great psionic storms here is to fend off the attack. So nice defense here in the end. Much needed unit. Those high temperature storms on the ground really dealing so much damage against those corruptors in the air. So what she could have done also, she could have went for the main with those corruptors, with the Broodwars. Of course, the corruptors could have vomited onto those stargates, as PTITDROGO would have been so far away. But yeah, it's very risky, as slowly but steadily she's now establishing the next expansion point. So quite interesting here stuff, as some ultralisk once again have been added, some Zerglings here as well. I believe she's going straight for the production buildings here. One lone carrier here needs to be careful. PTITDROGO wants to defend, of course, the newly established expansions, but SCARLETT looking like she's going straight for the production buildings here. Going here for the main, for this one carrier, almost taking it out. In come those void rays just to save that one carrier. So nice job here by PTITDROGO, but in comes the infestors, and with some great fungals, she could have a great advantage here, but feedback is also being prepared for PTITDROGO. As once again things have settled down a little bit. Let's see what the next moves are. Finally we have passed the 30-minute mark here. And yeah, it's still of course anyone's game. Both players are just roaming around. More energy is being needed here for SCARLETT, as she might try to slowly but steadily push here out with some spores. She wants of course to kill the newly established expansion, but yeah, PTITDROGO knows this of course, as he has his entire army, his entire fleet here into this location. At the same time she's protecting her new expansions here as well. So yeah, both players need to be careful not to make a losing move here. Even this one Warp Prism have some item storm just to micro them out of danger. Yeah, quite an interesting game here we have indeed. Slowly but steadily we are closing towards the end of the game, towards the 50 minute mark, as finally some units might get killed here. So one ultra risk dropping really low, Vipers in the front getting feedback. This one ultra risk might get sacrificed, and yeah, still anyone's game. As both players are just roaming around, just trying to find kill after kill, unit after unit. Let's see what's going to be happening here. Some interceptors will be sacrificed here sadly for PTITDROGO, so Spores looking really strong here into a defensive matter. The same can be said here. Only some Banings are roaming around with some ultras, so SCARLETT changing the tactics. Is she going for the main entrance here? It would be really good for her. The creep spread is also looking really nice, as she made it here forward. One lone carrier into this location, but here the void rays are here to respond. So she might try to just lure PTITDROGO out of the expansion zones. And is she going to be able to attack here? Let's just see. Some infestors are on the ground. We see some mind control, and I believe some Hyperstone perhaps being casted here by this one Hyperstone. I'm not really sure about this one. So SCARLETT still looking for a great position. Might try to surround somehow the units from PTITDROGO. So let's just see if this is indeed going to be her tactic. PTITDROGO still roaming around, still waiting for the attack. Same can be said here for SCARLETT. She's also waiting for PTITDROGO to attack. As yeah, more and more of those creep eggs are being spawned here on the ground. And yeah, the creep spread is looking really strong here for SCARLETT. Yeah, it's just a waiting game now, of course. Every mistake can cost really a lot here. And yeah, let's just see what the next moves are going to be here, as the fleet once again is moving out. The Vipers already here to abduct, to harpoon any carriers, and there it is, one Oracle has been killed. So every unit of force counts a lot, as SCARLETT is once again back into her defensive position next to those spores, and the Vesters are here as well to back up the units. So who is going to be able to attack first? Once again, SCARLETT attacking with a small task force, with those Zergings, with those Banings. Is she going to be able to bust here forward? Of course, the Zergings are making it forward. Perhaps she should move here forward towards those starports. Let's see, PTITDROGO of course has to come back, but SCARLETT does this really smart. She's going to force a comeback here by PTITDROGO, and PTITDROGO just now leaving those expansions behind. I believe this is the tactic from SCARLETT. She's now just going to harpoon some units here. Really nice takeouts by her. Or she's taking some damage, but in the end the Zerglings going now for the fleet beacon, and I believe this is the chance from SCARLETT to attack this expansion. But then again, the Protoss also has teleportation available. Really hard game for both players. Every mistake counts, of course, a lot, as we are slowly but steadily moving here forward towards the 40-minute mark. But a nice drop here by PTITDROGO, taking out some of those drones here. Let's see what the next steps are going to be. PTITDROGO in the middle of the map. Same can be set here for SCARLETT. And yeah, it's still anyone's game, of course. The Zerglings are roaming around. This is going to be perhaps the game changer here. Those Zerglings just roaming around, just forcing PTITDROGO to come back to defend. At the same time, just abandoning those expansions. Let's have a look if SCARLETT is going to be successful with this. And last harpoon here against this one High Tempest Storm. And now finally some Void Rays could get harpooned here as well, but both players are really playing very safe, very nicely, very strategic gameplay here by both players. As yeah, now finally SCARLETT once again preparing some banelings. He's going to try to bust here forward. Let's just see if PTITDROGO is going to try once again to teleport his units back home, or is he going for a walk? The Ultra is dealing so much splash damage here, but yeah, PTITDROGO is here to respond very close by. Some drop could also be done here by SCARLETT with some overlords in the air with some banelings. Perhaps this location, this one is already getting mined out. This one will also be really nice. That's exactly why PTITDROGO is staying really close by towards those locations. And yeah, SCARLETT just waiting here for him to attack. She knows she has so many spores on the ground. The spores are really important for her, as they are interceptor killers. So yeah, so many spores for her. And if her creep spread is looking really strong, those spores can be used offensively. But hold on, finally she's moving out with some Zerglings, with some ultra risk here. No banings this time needed, as she's going to be able to attacking those units. Even some ropes could get killed. Finally in come the Void Rays, and she has to retreat now with her units. So yeah, she might even try to, oh hold on, there it is, a draw by PTITDROGO. So let's just see the answer from SCARLETT. And of course it is a no, a strong no here by her. And if SCARLETT says no, she means no. So still anyone's game, but I believe SCARLETT thinks that she has the advantage here with those spores, with those corruptors in the air. Okay, yeah, no, okay, let's go. As the Zerglings are still attacking here the robotics facility here. So yeah, PTITDROGO has to come back with the Void Ray, so this could be a chance for SCARLETT to attack here. Finally, this one expansion point a little bit exposed, as PTITDROGO has to come back. She might try to teleport here back. We have so many Broodlords on the ground here as well, and the expansion might fall really soon. Where is PTITDROGO? Is moving back. The carriers are of course not that fast, and the expansion is taking slowly but steadily quite some damage, as the creep is really nicely getting spreaded here. And yeah, let's just see that with this one creep, I believe she can use those spores finally offensively. So she might try to take those spores into this location just to have that backup against those interceptors in the air, against those Void Rays of course. At the same time, she's also trying to defend this expansion. So I believe this is her winning move. Perhaps is it going to be a winning move? We're about to find out. But there's still so many carriers in the air, but yeah, those carriers can be cancelled, those interceptors can be cancelled with this one spore. So I believe this is what she is betting on. And is it going to be successful? Slowly but steadily she's attacking finally those expansion points here, even killing some probes. Both players pretty much at the same probe count, 33. And where is PTITDROGO? I believe he will abandon this one location and is going to try to move out here really soon. The Zerglings are doing quite a nice job. And let's have a look if PTITDROGO is going to commit. Is he going to move forward with his units against those units from SCARLETT? We might have an attack, a great fungal here indeed. Such a huge fungal against those carriers. And yeah, necessarily not followed by a parasitic bomb by her, but still she's looking really strong in the middle of the map. PTITDROGO just roaming around back and forward. Yes, finally we might see the 14-minute mark. Some great storms here, but SCARLETT really fast on the ground. She's playing a very patient, a very calculated game here versus PTITDROGO. But those carriers are really strong in the air, and the Void Rays. And let's not forget those Heightened Storm. So let's see who is going to be able to attack first, who is going to be able to come back faster with their army. Is PTITDROGO looking like it's closing slowly but steadily towards this location. There's so many spores here on the ground. Massive amounts of spores indeed for SCARLETT, defending those expansion points. And yeah, spines and spores here. Much a highway of spines and spores here for her versus the opponent. So let's see. She's trying to move out, of course, with Ultra Risk, with Banelings, with those Zerglings. And yeah, slowly but steadily she's just killing building after building. And what exactly can the answer from PTITDROGO be? Going to add some stasis walls against those Zerglings on the ground. Still, of course, anyone's game. Some interceptors fall here. Of course, every unit, like I told you, matters a lot. And we have a nice pullback here against an observer. Nicely done by her, as finally some Zerglings are moving out. So this is her plan, just to attack, relentlessly attack the bases from PTITDROGO. But like I told you, she could use some Even some worms could be used by her, or even some overlords. So let's see if PTITDROGO is going to indeed finally deciding to attack here versus SCARLETT. Some creep eggs have been killed, some Zerglings are here roaming around, just 2 of them, and some other units here as well. So SCARLETT preparing another attack. PTITDROGO is fighting, but he's taking damage out of those spores, so he needs to be very careful. Lots and lots of banelings are being spawned here, so I believe this is the next target here for SCARLETT, as PTITDROGO pretty much knows this, and he might try to come back here just to defend. Or actually SCARLETT going for the high ground. Let's just see where her next target is going to be here. Of course, the banelings are rolling here forward, the batteries are dealing some nice damage, but yeah, I believe SCARLETT is slowly but steadily going to be killing building after building, just to have the advantage. Of course, in Starcraft you need to kill all of the buildings from your opponent just to win the game, and this is indeed the tactic from SCARLETT. Of course, a very long game we have here indeed. A nice calculated game by both players, and yeah, slowly but steadily she's killing building after building, and slowly but steadily she's adding creep egg after creep egg, so PTITDROGO really has to kill this. And finally she's now moving out with her corruptors, so she might try to vomit here all over the place. Yes, indeed, this is her tactic, just vomiting all over the place. PTITDROGO, is he going to teleport back home? No, just staying here, and the damage is being taken, of course, out of that vomit. But SCARLETT is moving back as some stalkers have spawned here, so a little bit of vomit casted here by her onto those shields, but PTITDROGO is ready to defend there, and the spores are also ready here to defend for SCARLETT, as in comes those oracles with that relevance. But yeah, so much Zerg here on the ground and in the air, so quite a hard game for PTITDROGO, as he eats a jungle here as well. Let's see, what's this one? We have a nice mind control, and is she going to be using some item stone? I believe she's just going to attack this High Templar and just kill him. Yeah, there it is. So nice job by her with mind control. Of course, also a nice spell to have with those infestors on the ground. Mind control could of course take out a unit and just let it fight for yourself. So yeah, pretty good spells to have as a Zerg player, with mind control, with those Viper parasitic bomb, with fungals, and Active Storms are also pretty good. Feedback is also really good, but yeah, I believe a little bit of an advantage here for the Zerg. Let's see, another fungal has been casted. Yet another fungal, and some interceptors will be killed here as well. So slowly but steadily the Active Storms are moving forward, going for those infestors, immediately getting fungaled. Nice feedbacks here against those infestors. Still the infestors pretty much tanky here on the creep, as they're just roaming around here just like a train towards the base from SCARLETT. Yeah, let's see when exactly, or if someone is going to take the first move and attack. Even some probes are being sacrificed here by PTITDROGO. And yeah, he just wants to have more of that supply of an army. He has 176 of supply versus the 170 here, so still pretty much balanced. More probes are getting sacrificed by him as he's moving now forward towards the main from SCARLETT. And yes, SCARLETT of course will take out the probes. Let's see, 180 to 190 army supply now. PTITDROGO pretty much maxed out now into an army. He has almost 200. One worker is still alive, because why not? And he has 200 supply of an army, and there is this one army, really scary looking army. Stalkers now have been added just in case. But yeah, nice harpoon here by SCARLETT. If you can look at the economy, both players looking really strong at 20k and 10k in gas. Well, let's have a look. Is he producing anything? Oh, finally we have some Tempests, so an interesting idea here. Actually, many more Tempests have joined here the army, so the Tempest can nicely kite back and forth. But hold on, we actually have an attack here. So Tempests are really strong unit to have in the late game, as they can be kited back and forward. They can of course just snipe spore after spore, and even snipe queen after queen or corruptor after corruptor. But many more Tempests will be needed here. Very strong unit to have indeed in the late game for the Protoss. Well, let's just see when exactly PTITDROGO is going to attack with those Tempests in the air. Quite a strong fleet here, very beautiful looking fleet here indeed. Even one Archon has been added, and lots of islands on the ground just to perhaps to teleport more units. Let's just have a look at the answer from SCARLETT. She's going to snipe the second carrier as well. Nice job here by her. And yeah, just forcing Look at that, all of a sudden less supply. Oh, hold on, that's actually SCARLETT. Yeah, less supply here for both players. Upgrades of course maxed out here for both players. Who is going to be the first player to attack? We still build the two carriers being rebuilt here really fast by PTITDROGO, as SCARLETT once again preparing an attack, I believe in the upper left part, and just inviting PTITDROGO to attack, but I believe PTITDROGO really nicely does this with some shield batteries, so he's just showing his strength here as well. One Orcon will be killed, and even adding a Nexus here perhaps just to teleport some units in the middle of the map. Some things have been added here as well, but finally SCARLETT looking really strong with her attack here, but no, she's going to change minds as she's moving back. She might take now those spores into a different location just to back up the real attack here into the middle of the map, as so many shield batteries have been added by PTITDROGO. So nice late game here by both players. Who is going to be the victor here? Shield batteries versus spores. Quite interesting job here, but the Broodwars in the air need to be punished by those Tempests. Where are those Tempests by PTITDROGO? More carriers will follow up here. Yeah, who is going to be the victor, as another unit has been sniped here after being torpedoed by a Viper. So yeah, more energy for SCARLETT. Of course, those spores just give you pretty much unlimited energy, as those Vipers could just harpoon unit after unit here, and yeah, just some changes are getting sacrificed here by SCARLETT, as she's going to be able to take out another unit. Finally, the Tempest also show their presence here. I believe PTITDROGO could just go for some Tempest. They could just go for massive amounts of Tempest, or massive amounts of Stalkers could also be an interesting idea. So yeah, let's just see. One worker is still alive for PTITDROGO, 16 for SCARLETT. And she's just mining more and more and just adding more and more of those spores. Slowly but steadily, PTITDROGO decides to move forward. He needs to be careful against those Vipers for SCARLETT. Let's have a look at the expansion. Let's call it expansion. It's a little bit exposed here, but this Nexus just gives energy, just gives you the opportunity to teleport back home. SCARLETT knows this, of course, as she is attacking here with her Broodlords, and the spores are moving more and more forward, and now finally great harpoons against those Tempests. The Nexus has fallen here as well, and another Tempest has fallen here as well, as yes, she might try to move more and more forward with her spores. And at the same time we have finally a Overlord here who's just laying some Zerglings on the ground. Interesting, perhaps a misclick here by her. I believe she wanted to go into the main. What exactly her plans are? Maybe she wants to take out those Zerglings. Oh no, actually more and more of those Overlords, and finally she's using those Overlords to bring those units, or is she? No, she's actually moving back. So interesting enough, what exactly her plans are here with those Overlords, with the transportation here. So look if indeed she's going to be able to bring some units into the production, into those production buildings by the Protoss. Let's have a look. Still anyone's game, but I believe SCARLETT is a little bit more mobile than the Protoss units in the air. She has those Zerglings, she has those Banelings, she has those Ultralisks, and yet these Overlords still not being used by her. Interesting enough. Let's see, and she's still not bringing those spores into a better location, but I'm sure she knows exactly what she's doing. So let's have a look. She's slowly but steadily moving forward, getting more and more of those spores. And sadly for PTITDROGO, his field batteries are pretty much exposed now, so it's moving forward with some Corruptors, just sniping one carrier here, really important, and just luring PTITDROGO back. But at the same time, SCARLETT sees an opportunity, sees an open door, going to come here forward with the Banelings, with the Ultralisk. And yeah, she's just having so much more map awareness, even adding those spores, sorry, against those units. Let's have a look. Those Stalkers will be sacrificed pretty much here, as I believe slowly but steadily we're closing in towards the end of this game. PTITDROGO sees so many spores here by SCARLETT as he has moved back into a safer position. But yeah, let's see what's going to be happening here. Those Overlords still not being used here, but finally SCARLETT realizes this as she's going for more and more of those Overlords. And yeah, PTITDROGO is really far away, but he can of course teleport back home into this location. There is the drop. She might try to go straight for those production buildings very soon. She's attacking here as well, so SCARLETT pretty much being all over the place here. She's trying to take out the reinforcements. Really nice job by her. PTITDROGO has to come back. She's going now to very likely bomb it here onto those pylons, or is she PTDROGO very close by here by him as well? So many Zerglings all on the ground just attacking finally the production buildings from PTDROGO. So PTDROGO has to come back with his carriers, with his tempests, with his void rays. Still damage is being taken, and finally the production buildings are being taken out. So nice job here by SCARLETT. Once again, she's establishing control of the middle of the map. Spores are still inbound. We're still waiting for PTDROGO to attack. Would of course be a suicide attack against so many spores. And I believe if she's spreading, actually she has a great creep spread, so she could take those spores into a more aggressive point here. She actually has massive amounts of spores, adding more and more spores. And yet those spores will be very likely used for her to win her this game, or is she going to be winning this game? That's the question here. Let's not forget that PTDROGO has 190 supply of an army versus the only 160 supply here for SCARLETT. SCARLETT once again moving forward with her burnings, with her Ultralisk versus the units from PTDROGO. I believe PTDROGO is trying, of course, to come back here with his fleet. Already taking quite some damage. His carriers are a little bit lower, at least some carriers, and finally some torpedo is happening and void rays are being taken out. Not that many Stargates are being left alive. So yeah, SCARLETT might try once again to attack with those overlords. And then let's just see what PTDROGO can do. Massive amounts of carriers over him with the High Templars, but there's just so many spores here for SCARLETT already. I believe above around 100 spores at least for her, and the spores only also not being used as a defensive purpose, also being diffused as a offensive purposes, as we also have a mothership. So finding the mothership, just to see if this mothership will bring some advantage here for PTDROGO. But slowly but steadily he's losing building after building. So very calculated game by SCARLETT, a very safe game by her. When exactly, or is he going to attack here with his mothership, with his fleet? But it would be, like I told you, a very hard attack for him against so many spores. So pretty much the middle of the map is in control by SCARLETT. Now finally another drop is being prepared for her. Where is the fleet here for PTDROGO? He really has to teleport back, but he doesn't have any nexus here, so he can't really teleport. Finally he's moving more and more forward, but SCARLETT dropping her load here onto those Stargates. Same time she's trying, of course, to take out the reinforcements. She's trying to take out unit after unit with those Vipers, but she pretty much has to abandon now the first attack, as PTDROGO just roaming around here into the main, just securing those Stargates. And now more and more spores are being added left and right here for SCARLETT, as she's finally moving forward slowly but steadily with those spores just all over the map, having those small dots, those small red dots are just spores and spines for her. So very interesting game by her, as the High Templars are also here watching that creep, just moving more and more forward towards the Protoss. Even now we have some mind control into this one Oracle, as it has been killed by those spores. At the same time the Ultralisk are roaming around the map, just being ready to kill more and more of those workers. And by the looks of it, finally PTDROGO deciding to attack here against those spores, having High Templar storms in the air. The spores are being targeted, but yeah, interceptors will be falling left and right. Interceptors taking damage out of those spores. PTDROGO pretty much going to commit here forward. A nice fungal here by SCARLETT. More and more interceptors are falling left and right. So many interceptors in the air, but so many spores on the ground. Investors are also here as well. Great fungals here, and finally the Persity bomb is also being casted. So much damage here against PTDROGO. PTDROGO has to retreat. He doesn't really have so many interceptors left. Another fungal has been used. More and more fungals, as SCARLETT pretty much is going to be engaging here. So many corruptors are still being left alive. The interceptors try to do their best. Tempest are also nicely trying to give back up here, but finally I believe SCARLETT, or is she going to be able to take this game here, as another mind control has been added here. She's not fighting underneath those spores. She's still feeling really confident here with her units. Another parasitic bomb has been added here for her. Slowly but steadily PTDROGO is losing more and more of those air units, and all of a sudden the army from SCARLETT looking really strong. 190, and even a red bubble has been casted here for PTDROGO. The SCARLETT just went straight towards those production buildings, so PTDROGO tries, of course, to rebuild the units as fast as possible, but in the end SCARLETT looking like that was the winning move. PTDROGO, of course, really wanting to finish this game, but in the end it was just too many spores for SCARLETT there, and I believe she could have even used those spores just slowly but steadily moving forward. But yeah, it was a suicide mission. I believe PTITDROGO knew this. I think she just wanted to go into a next game, or he just wanted to abandon this game. So what a crazy game we had here. Indeed, a 55-minute long game here. In the end, SCARLETT proving to be too strong. A very patient game here by her. Those spores were also a winning move by her. And I believe, like I told you, she could have used those spores a little bit more aggressively, just moving forward and forward, inch by inch, just adding the creep eggs by the queens. And yeah, just so many spores, just 100 spores here on the map. And yeah, the carriers just losing interceptor after interceptor. So perhaps Tempest would have been a good idea, but it's really hard against the Zerg with Tempest Breath, massive amount of Void Rays. But yeah, there are those Infestors, there are those Vipers. So yeah, the Zerg looking really strong in the late game versus the Protoss with Infestors, with Vipers, with Spores. And yeah, Fungus with Parasitic Bomb once again looking like to be the winning move for any Zerg versus the Protoss into the late game. And yeah, why not just add more than 100 spores and you should be fine. So yeah, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. We'll be seeing you, of course, in the next replays. This is Tommy signing out.